Alright, we're asked to factor out the greatest common factor from this polynomial. It might look kind of strange. You might not be used to the greatest common factor being a binomial, two terms. So let me start with an example with which you might be more familiar. I'm just going to make this up, but it'll be similar to that. If you had, let's say, 3rz to the 5th plus 10 RZ to the 8th, you could factor out an RZ to the 5 from each term. So you would put that in front of parentheses, RZ to the 5. And when I say factor out, that means you divide out RZ to the 5, and you divide out RZ to the 5. Okay? When you do that, for the first term, you would just be left with 3. R's cancel, Z to the 5's cancel. For the second one, you would be left with a 10. R's cancel, and you're left with 3 Z's. Z to the 3rd. Okay, this is factoring out the greatest common factor that might be a little bit easier to see. Now that you have a binomial, that's just our example, the common factor here is already separated out for you. You have Z to the 5th. If I try writing it, it'll minus 5, making it worse. And Z to the 5th minus 5. Okay? That's what I'm going to factor out. That's my common factor. So out here in blue, I'll put Z to the 5th minus 5 outside of the parentheses. Right? Over here I had this set of parentheses. How am I going to do this? I'll make them stand out. See that set of parentheses? That's this set right here. Alright? And how did I do that? I divided each term by my common factor. So if I divide this by Z to the 5th minus 5, those two would cancel, and the only thing left would be an R. So the R is left. This next one, if I divide all of this by Z to the 5th minus 5, Z to the 5th minus 5 cancels, and it almost looks like there's nothing left here. But you have to be aware, if nothing's written in front of this set of parentheses, there is a 1. Okay? So we're left with a minus 1. This is the answer. We factored out a Z to the 5th minus 5 from each term. If you, well, it'd be hard to see if you distribute it. Usually it's easy to see. You can get back to where you started. This might be a little more complicated. How's our time doing? You have an answer here, but I'll just show you how it looks if we do FOIL. Okay, this is the answer, and we'll take a look at what we've created. Z to the 5th times R. If I use FOIL or just any method where I send each term to each term inside parentheses, I would have RZ to the 5th, right? If I multiply these first two, then minus Z to the 5th, then these two terms would be minus 5R, and then these two would be plus 5. Yeah, it's going to look strange because I'll have to factor something back out. Yeah, better not. Well, I'll continue with this, but you just might want to stop following. I can combine these two. I can put them together. RZ to the 5th minus 5R. and then I have negative z to the 5th plus 5. And from the first two I can factor out an r. Leaves me with z to the 5th minus 5. And from the second two I can factor out a negative 1. So if I factor out a negative 1 from negative z to the 5th, I'm left with positive z to the 5th. And if I factor out a negative 1 from a positive 5, I'm left with negative 5. And you can see, perhaps not real clearly, but this is actually where we started. But again, the answer, factoring out the GCF, is sitting up here.